Yeah, I agree with you there, Bill. Being a veteran of the Canadian military, I served almost 9 years from 86 to 95, and I went over to Iran in 88. So I'm a veteran from the peacekeeping era. When I went to Iran, it was a theater of war. So there was a whole battalion of Iranian infantry that was going to overrun us at any time when we were back to Iran. And so we had that to deal with when we were there. So I saw the horrors of the end result of what war can do to a landscape. I've looked into the children's eyes. I've seen the terror coming from it. I've seen the destruction. I've seen the burnt-out tanks on the side of the road as you're driving down the highway, not allowed off the highway because there's landmines on the highway. I've seen all that stuff firsthand, and I would never want to subject any other Canadian or anyone else to that. And that's why I would fully support even pulling the Canadian troops back to Canada. And I feel, as a veteran, I feel that when we serve in the military, we should be protecting the people of Canada and doing work within Canada to make sure that the Canadian people are safe and make sure the Canadian people are okay. And that's what I think the Canadian military should be used for.
Yeah, I think you raised some really important points. One of the things that I've been working on in the last little while is the Department of Peace initiative, which has been put forward by many Canadians who believe that we need to sort of reorganize government and reorganize it away from militarism and towards peace initiatives, to establish within the sort of the structure of government a Department of Peace where peace advocacy, mediation, all of those kinds of skills that prevent conflict and promote peace and nonviolence would have a prominent place and would be engaged regularly and consistently by government. It wouldn't be on the side of someone's desk, but it would be the primary issue for someone's desk as a way of counteracting the sort of the way the military has been so deeply integrated into the operation of government. Perhaps not as much here in Canada as in other countries, but certainly it's a factor here in Canada when you see the huge military spending, for instance, that we have in Canada relative to other budgets. So this Department of Peace initiative has been around for a little while. I've in the process of having it drafted into a private member's bill, and I'm hoping to be able to introduce that in the first few days when Parliament resumes in the next couple of weeks in Ottawa. I'm hoping to get that on the agenda before an election call. I don't know why we've got an election coming up, but there's lots of work to be done, and this is one piece of work I'd like to get on the table, because I think that will go some way to making sure that those kinds of values are always front and center with government and not off on the side on sort of on the corner of somebody, one of our cabinet ministers' desks.
And also, Mr. Siksay, I'd like to point to you that right now there's an organization called Oath Keepers. It's coming out of the United States, but also there's some of us Canadian veterans which are now starting to form a Canadian version of it. There's a gentleman coming out of Owen Sound in Ontario that's forming a Canadian one. And what this is it's veterans and also former policemen. They're joining together, and we're recognizing the allegiance that we swore to the people of Canada. And we're recognizing that the people of Canada have to be protected. And that's what the whole entire Oath Keeper is. And what I'll do is I'll send you an email on that because I think it's extremely important to get organizations like that out in the public eye, because what it's saying to the people is we served our country, but we never once have we forgot the allegiance that we swore to the Canadian people. We'll keep that allegiance to the day we die.
And that sounds very interesting. I'd appreciate getting that info.
Yeah, and also I wanted to talk to you briefly, and then I'm going to let Ben ask a question. You introduced that conscientious objector bill. Mm-hmm. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Well, that bill has been around for quite some time. Actually, Sven Robinson, my predecessor, used to introduce it regularly, and it came out of work with a number of peace organizations, with the people who belong to the Mennonite Church, the peace tax people. And what it is it would allow Canadians who don't support military spending for reasons of conscience to direct that portion of their taxes into a special peace account, which wouldn't be used for military purposes. This has been an idea that's around. Actually, the peace tax proposal it's currently in place. It's the organization does it and has established a particular account for that purpose. So people who feel strongly about it can do it now, although it doesn't have any legal basis. But this the private members bill would give Canadians who, for strong reasons of conscience, don't want to participate in militarism, military spending that option at tax time.
And one quick question for you before I hand over to the mic over to Ben. Also, I noticed that the Canadian pension plan that everyone has to pay into, there's a percentage of that right now which actually been invested into the making of components which are used in the weapons of mass destruction. With your bill that you're introducing, is there part of your bill that actually talks about not allowing the Canadian pension plan to be involved with the making of these weapons of mass destruction which cause the spilling of innocent blood?
No, unfortunately, my bill doesn't go there. Although I do have a file sitting on my desk in Ottawa around how the CPP pension funds are invested with regards to military expenditures, and so I think that is something that we should be looking at. Other countries have done that. I believe New Zealand, I think Norway have done that, and I think it's something that would be most appropriate to consider. And I wish that in the last 5 years of my time as a member of Parliament, I didn't have to spend so much time on strategy and elections, and we could have spent more time debating important issues like this one.
Well, I'd like to hand the mic over to Ben, and I'd like to remind our listening audience that you're listening to 102.7 FM CFRO, Monday Brown Bagger. The guest we have on right now is Bill Siksay, who's a member of Parliament for the NDP party from Burnaby, Douglas.
Good afternoon there, Bill. How are you doing this afternoon?
I'm good, Ben. How about you?
Very well. This is actually my first time going back on the air because I haven't been on the air for way too long.
Hey, welcome back.
Oh, thank you. And so I just want to say thank you very much for having you actually on the air this afternoon on Monday Brown Beggar. I really appreciate that. Now, can you give us more information about what you're saying about the CPP for New Zealand and stuff like that?
You know, I don't, and because I wasn't expecting to talk about it this morning, I would have pulled the file out and had a little bit of a look at it. But I know that there are countries that have considered where their pension investments are located, and have made some really rigorous requirements around the kind of investments that can be made, how that money can be used. And I think New Zealand is one of them where they have said very clearly that those pension funds should not be invested in armaments companies, for instance, that kind of thing. So I think it's really important issue to look at, and especially when you consider the size of those investments and their influence as part of that sort of military-industrial complex.
And what can we count on with the upcoming election, right? Is it war resistor issue? Is that going to be a strong issue that the NDP is going to be showing to the people of Canada? Because with 60% of us Canadians supporting the war resistor, that's what I'd like to know.
Well, I think the commitment to have a particular program for war resistors has been part of the NDP platform in past campaigns. We're very clearly on the record, so that's not changing, and that won't change if we go to an election this fall. New Democrats are solidly behind that idea and believe that it is the only way to go in terms of this issue. I think that it would be great if it could be raised during the election campaign, if folks could raise it with their local candidates, especially pressuring Liberal and Bloc members to make sure that they're firmly on board with this. If there is a change in government, we want to make sure that whoever comes in has a commitment to seeing this policy changed, and to do so immediately, not to put it on the back burner and wait while some of these folks still face the threat of deportation. So it needs to be an immediate and strong commitment, an unquestioning commitment to make sure that this can go forward. I think we need to work on conservatives as well. Conservatives need to know that folks in their community support having the war resistors being welcomed in Canada, and support following through on our commitment to oppose the war in Iraq. I think that's a really crucial thing to raise during a campaign, and I'd look forward to discussing that with anybody who raises it with me during the campaign.